Hello, and welcome to episode 2 of It's My Legacy podcast. I am your host, Legacy. And today on episode 2, we will be discussing discipline versus distraction, crossing the line between determined and self sabotage. Now, I hope everyone is doing good, and thank you so much for tuning into my show today. I am bringing this forth because this is something that I personally am struggling with. And I just thought, you know what, this is very honest, and why not? Let's talk about this. So here's the thing. There's many ways that we can be distracted. In the society that we live in, distraction is kind of the name of the game. Between our cell phones, between just the amount of information that is available to us, the numerous social media platforms, it's a whole thing. Distractions are a part of a large agenda that keeps us kind of aloof to many things. And for myself personally, I've found that distractions are kind of my weapon of choice in self-sabotaging myself. But it's also a way that I cope with my anxiety, is distracting myself. And when you are someone that deals with anxiety, especially to the level that I deal with anxiety, it can be crippling. It can be so overwhelming. It feels like a rush of emotions or energy rather that just consumes you to the point you're like, oop, nope, I can't take this. Okay, I need something to do. And for me, lately, YouTube has been that distraction for me. Now, during quarantine, I was on YouTube ridiculously. In 2020, I used to spend 8 hours a day, and I'm not lying. I used to look up my amount of time on YouTube. 8 hours a day on YouTube. I was like, I'm on YouTube so damn much, they need to be paying me. It was ridiculous. And you would think that I would have created a YouTube channel. I did. Did I keep up with it? I did not. That was just, no. Distracting myself. Distractions look different for everyone. Sometimes it can be being on your phone, scrolling on TikTok, being on, Instagram. It can be you're supposed to be studying and instead you go and, hang out with your friends, or you're sitting on the phone for hours and good and well you're supposed to be doing something else that's more productive. Now, my reason for getting distracted is really, it's just easier. I am very much a free spirit. I do not like structure. A part of it was I grew up with very little structure, which isn't an excuse. I'm an adult now. I will say I don't like structure, but I can appreciate a routine. A routine provides structure for me to an extent. However, when the structure feels too much, or when the routine that creates a structure for me feels too much, that's when I start looking for other ways to distract myself. Like, okay, I don't want to deal with this today. Case in point, me getting up to go work out. I have a set time that I wake up every morning, and I have a routine that I do. And today I just didn't feel like it. And, then you have discipline, which it's like, I'm going to get up, I'm going to do this whether I feel like it. I have a set time that I'm doing this. I do it every day. I'm consistent. I'm not only structured, I have a routine, and I stick with it no matter what. And I was doing that, and it was cool for a moment. And then today I just felt like I don't feel like it. I don't want to get up. I know I have things to do. And I was like, well, I'm going to go do my morning routine, but I just don't feel like going to exercise. And for me, every single thing that I do, every part of my routine is essential to my well-being. Me going to work out is important because it allows me to work through emotions. It allows me to work through thoughts that I have. Walking, any type of exercising for me is so important. Then you have my breakfast, which is me making a smoothie. What I eat is essential to how I feel. It's very important. What I watch is important to what I think about. If I go to sleep 15 or 30 minutes later than my normal bedtime, it affects me. So it's like there's this part of me that is rebelling against the routine, which is creating a structure that is needed. And I'm like, but I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it because I want to be a butterfly. I feel like that scene in The Other Guys where he says, I'm a peacock and you guys have to let me fly. That is just, it cracks me up to this day. And it's literally how I feel. Like, you just got to let me be. But in me being able to operate and to be the best of myself and to show up in the best of my abilities, structure is needed. As much as I don't like it, it is necessary because I've seen the results. So when we look at discipline, discipline can be going to the gym every day, no matter what. It can be, setting the discipline to go to bed at a certain time every day. It can be waking up at a certain time every day. And you're consistent in what you're doing. You're disciplined in this, whatever it is that you're doing. I feel like discipline and consistency are similar, but they also work hand in hand. And it's super important because of the fact that I always see it as, there was this meme years ago. It was an illustration. And it was this man who was hacking at this wall. He was like going through, almost like hacking through to create a cave. And he was searching for, I don't know if it was diamonds or gold. I can't remember. This was a very old illustration. But he was breaking it and breaking. He got so close. And right when he got to this certain point, he just wanted to give up. And what it showed you is on the other side of that wall, if he had just hit it one more time, what he was looking for was on the other side. The diamonds, the gold, the gems were on the other side of that wall. If right when he gave up, he missed his breakthrough. And I feel like that's why discipline is so important. It's so important to stay the course. It's so important to keep going, even when you don't feel like it, even when you're tired, even when you want to give up. The discipline is so necessary to execute the plan, to be able to bring the goal into fruition and it be a reality. And so I've had to be real with myself and say, okay, you're distracting yourself. Lately, it's been with YouTube. YouTube is like a freaking rabbit hole for me. And then I'm like, all right, well, let me look up recipes and let me look up this. And then it's just a spiral for me. And I had to get down to the core of it. And so I was creating a trifecta and just seeing how this affects me. And so I feel like my distraction and then lack of consistent discipline, because I can be disciplined, but being consistent with it leads to my self-sabotage. And so I was like, okay, why am I getting in my own way? Why am I sabotaging myself? What am I doing? Because if I'm distracting myself, it's like if you're focused on a test, you're in class, and your friend is sitting next to you, and they're trying to get your attention while you're working on this test, and they're distracting you, you're joking, but you're supposed to be focused. It is, in a way, although it seems funny and comfortable, it's sabotaging your attempt to get everything right, to do what you're supposed to do, to execute what is before you. And I have been getting in my own way. And I think the main reason of why is fear. Fear of what actually succeeding looks like for me. I have carried a tremendous fear of success for many years. Most people are afraid of failure. I am I'm not as terrified of it, but I've carried a fear of success for many, many, many years. So I'm playing this song and I decide, okay, I'm going to make a smoothie. So I was like, okay, how do I make this fun for me? So I put some music on and I'm just dancing and I'm making my smoothie. And the smoothie came out so good, by the way. Okay, I gotta drop some recipes soon. So then I was like, okay, now what? Now what do I need to do? So then, I played with my pets and put them away. And then I was like, okay, now what? And I was like, I got on YouTube. And I started to get distracted again. And I was like, I'm on here way too much. So I said, well, what is something else that I can do? And something that I've learned is I've decided to set this goal that every day I have to do at least 2 things that add value to me. So whether it's writing, whether it's doing a podcast, whether it's, going to exercise, or I have to do something that adds value to myself. And so I came to do the podcast and I've come up with some ideas on how I think that you could help yourself and how I'm choosing to help myself. So I've learned, writing all my tasks down, you don't have to go in order, but by strategizing, it helps to take the load off, and it's very hard sometimes because we always want to take into account our mental health. And I'm just really big on, if I don't want to do it, I'm not going to do it. And that's not working for me. Okay. It's not giving what it needs to give. Like, we can't keep doing that. And I'm just like, but why not? Like, it works because I have days where emotionally I just don't feel like it. But like I said before, when I have my routine and I have a structure, it's creating that structure for me. So I've learned, and I'm learning, as much as sometimes I don't like having the routine because sometimes it feels suffocating. When you have anxiety, it's really helpful to actually have a routine because it lowers your chance of anxiety because of the fact that you know what to expect. The thing that kicked in for me today is I knew what to expect. I knew what time it was. I knew what I was going to do, and I just didn't want to do it. It wasn't about anxiousness. I just didn't feel like it. And so I prayed about it, and God was like, yeah, but what about if you did things that you didn't, even when you don't feel like doing them? And I was like, but okay, I'll give it a shot. So here's some things, so every day start small with like 2 things that add value to you. Like, let's say they're working out or doing something productive, working on your goal, on executing your goal, not just planning the goal, but actually doing something to take away from a task that's needed in completing your goal. The next thing I would say is when you're writing this, when you're writing this list and you're writing everything down, try to strategize, so like, let's say you're writing a list. Your list is, I need to work out. I need to clean the bathroom. I need to mop. I need to, go get groceries. I need to, all these different things that you're writing. On the days when we don't feel like doing anything, what is going to bring you the most joy first? For me, mopping is meditation. However, I have dogs. So I have to be careful what time I mop because, I'm going to end up having to mop again. So it's like, okay, well, what's going to take the least amount of time? So what's going to bring me the most joy? So in a regular day, you may want to strategize by what takes the least time and do that first. You may want to strategize by, well, today I don't really feel like doing shit. So let me do what's going to make me feel the happiest. And sometimes you have to double back. Like this morning, didn't feel like working out, but I did feel like making a smoothie. And I did feel like coming to do this podcast. So now, once I complete this, I still have some writing to do. Then after that, I'm going to double back and go work out. So just trying to decide what's going to make you feel better. You get to strategize that works for you because everybody is different. Everyone has their own mood, their own thing, their own level of overwhelming, their own level of anxiety, their own level of tolerance. So you do what works for you. Now, also I've learned, be consistent no matter if you want to or not. There will be days where you need a break, but what if you took that break and still made time to double back, as I just said? So for me, I needed a break today. We're getting up every single day at the same time. We're going to work out. It's hella cold outside. I ain't want no. So I was like, okay, we're going to do these things. We're going to double back. There will be days where you just can't. And that is so understandable. You may have depression. You may deal with, being with manic depression. You may have any type of mental illness. There's so many. Your anxiety, it could be anything, right? Be mindful to show yourself grace on those days and actually take that day. Today, I've learned, I thought maybe I would need the whole day. Instead, I'm going to take some hours. And that's important to me and it's necessary for me. Because I'll be honest with you, if I didn't take the hours, I would have taken the whole day and I would have stayed in bed and I would have just said, fuck it. So instead of us taking an entire day, let's take some hours apart and say, I can't do this right now. So let me double back to it later. And let me take the time that I need to feel better. Use your discernment. Really decide. Like I said, I'm somebody who's like, I can't. And God was like, but can you? Really ask yourself, can you give a little bit more? Can you do more than what you feel like you can do? I know praying, scripture, things like that. I know I've had to really pray, God, I just don't feel like it. And he's been but I'm just give me the strength. Just carry me to the next few steps because I really don't want to do a damn thing right now. Playing music that you like is also really helpful. Doing things you enjoy, which we spoke about. So another thing that I was working on and really thinking about is getting out of our own way. Really be honest with yourself. Do you not want to do this because it's going to require a lot out of you? Is it the people that's surrounding it? Is it the resources? Or is it because you're close to what you want to accomplish and there may be fear? Really get to the root of what it is, because that's my truth and that may not be your truth. But get to the root of why you don't want to do it. Beyond, I just don't feel like it. It's, when we were kids, when I was a child, there were times I didn't want to go to school. And I loved school. And, my mom would just be like, oh, okay, well, is it because you don't feel well? And I'd be like, yeah, that's what it was. But the root of why I didn't feel well was because I was being bullied. And so I didn't want to deal with it. And sometimes our body may feel like we don't want to do this, but there's a root to that. What is the real reason why? Is it just you don't feel like it? Is you're just tired? Are you depressed? Are you sad? Are you overwhelmed? Is there something on your mind? Do you need to meditate? Do you need to, take a bath? Do you need to relax? Do you need some self-care? Another thing that I've learned to do is to incorporate a nap during my day. So I've realized that sleep is so critical for me. I have to have rest. If I do not rest, I'm telling you, just going to bed 30 minutes later makes such a difference. So I have implemented this rule in my life that I go to bed an hour before my bedtime. So like I'm in the bed, everything is turned off. I can read, but I cannot watch anything. And so up until this hour, so like, okay, boom. So my bedtime is at 8:30, but I get into bed at 7:30. So up until 7:30, I can read. I can, I have like 30 minutes up until that point to read, or that's it. I cannot watch anything because I found that when I was trying to go to bed at 8:30, when I would lay down after being on YouTube, there were so many images that were trying to come out of my mind, and it just took longer for my body to relax. So what I do is I go to bed at 7:30. Everything's turned off. I try about 30 minutes to an hour before 7:30 to not watch anything. Sometimes I do, but I try not to, at least 30 minutes before, so that when 7:30 hits, I have that hour for my body to relax so that I can fall asleep by 8:30. Another thing is I have multiple alarms, and just seeing like what works. Like, okay, if I eat good, I feel good. Being mindful of what we're putting into our body, all of these things. And most of all, recognizing that I deserve good things. And although I may be anxious about what great things are coming, I have to get to a point where I realize, but I deserve it. You deserve what you're working towards. You deserve that dream that you have, that you are wishing every day would come true. You deserve for it to be your reality. Well, that's it for today's episode on It's My Legacy podcast. I want to thank you so much for tuning in, for giving me a bit of your time and spending this time with me, opening your heart to receive what I have to say. I support you on this journey as I am on this with you, in trying to get out of my own way and not allow distracting myself to be the weapon that keeps me in bondage from accomplishing my goals, fulfilling my dreams. We're almost there, guys. I don't care where you're starting or where you are in your journey, you're almost there, because one step forward is still a step forward. Until next time, I wish you love and much peace and resilience. Thank you for tuning in.